Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Church of Caboose, and welcome to my corner of the internet. So, this video, and fair warning, it might be a bit polarizing, and some things might be a bit harder to swallow because we're gonna be talking about PvP, and not from like a point of view of someone where it's like True Vanguard or Azatros or Cool Guys, Fallout Plays, Ascendant Nomad. The list just goes on. Panda, whatever. Of folks that are like the top 0.03% of the game. Nah, this is all from stuff from a point of view of like the casual player and who does Destiny 2 PvP, who also happens to suck, because most of us that play Crucible and PvP aren't just that good. And so we're going to be addressing some community issues. Mainly, PvP community is toxic as hell, and it's killing the Crucible, and what we can do to try to make things more worthwhile to Bungie to use their time and resources to actually like improve / fix the mode of Crucible. I have a higher focus talking about Trials specifically, but really this all applies to everything. Trials, comp, quick play, anything where it's a Guardian versus Guardian scenario other than maybe private matches. And so that's going to be this video. Now this comes about because I started seeing at least one content creator who I really like, Hush. Hopefully I remember to put a screenshot up right here, who is just like, hey, for a bunch of reasons, and I'll leave it kind of hanging out here of the screenshot. Basically, it's because Trials is full of recovs, sweats, like at the top of their game, and because Bungie doesn't seem to care about PvP, I'm outie, and don't you dare tell me that Destiny is a PvE game. And that seems like something to kind of kick this whole thing off, which is Destiny a PvE game or a PvP? Because that kind of filters in things right for a little bit. Right now, it's pretty clear from Bungie's priorities and what they put money into and time that they see Destiny as a PvE game where like Crucible is kind of like the side quest. Now obviously as an individual, if you love PvP, you can like flip that yourself and have it be where Crucible is your main thing and you just do PvE to bolster your Crucible, but it's pretty clear from Bungie's time and resources that it's a PvE thing. And if you're like, there's no way that's true, look how long it took for them to do anything about Perfect Aim, even though Perfect Aim was destroying the game ever since like Destiny went to having PC, and especially from Season of the Worthy, where they went to free to play for Trials. Like if it was a PvE and PvP thing, they would have been on that pretty quick. They tend to hop on cheating pretty quick for PvE. Just ask Indica, who used to be in the Redeem clan, when he did something that apparently cost his clan world record for Last Wish. Like they don't do that crap for PvP. So that's kind of my evidence for why this is a PvE main game. But if you want to make PvP a bigger deal, we gotta fix some stuff. Now here's some evidence that shows that PvP is a really toxic as hell community, and we just kind of need to, give some evidence. So the first bit we're going to go with is Trials within evidence. We're going to look at Trials. We already know it's overrun by sweats and recovs. Almost every weekend, some of my clan's Discord's like, dude, I played against this guy, like a screenshot, my first game, or like I keep playing into these, and they'll send in screenshots, and it's like game 1 playing against someone with 450 flawlesses. Like it's very, very obvious to the normal player that, and I would assume everyone knows this, but at least to the casual player, it is hopelessly overrun by folks that are in like the top 1% and folks that are doing carry services where they're getting paid or they're playing as somebody else. It's also common for someone to look up and be like, oh look, this guy's got like a 0.17 KDA overall in Crucible, and then get their ass handed to them in Trials, and it's just blatantly obvious that the person having their account played as a recov. And this is just going to be ruining Trials. Like if you're kind of a casual player or a typical player such as myself, it's not that much fun to be able to hop in and just have in the back of your head that you are hopelessly up a hill. There's a difference between having a shot and having no shot, and right now for most of us, a lot of Crucible, especially Trials, you got no shot. Like it's just not even worth it. Something that's kind of more for everything, but especially obvious in Trials, is stasis is definitely not balanced with light powers. One of the reasons Hush mentioned that he's leaving is because he's like, yeah, stasis is broken as hell and it's stupid, it's driving me nuts, so like that's part of why I'm done. And he's not the only one. It's not much fun to have every like 5 seconds you get caught in someone's glacier grenade and you're like, well, can't do anything about it, and you just wait to get Titans like skated through, or to have some hunter like attack you from above because for some reason some genius thought it was a great idea to have an unlimited amount of slams for a class be a thing where it's just an instant kill. And then Stasis is just right now way stronger than the light supers. And I'm sure there's gonna be someone that's like, you just don't know how to play against it. Well, listen here, bud. I'm aware I'm not really good at playing against it, but a lot of folks, including top streamers, are getting driven nuts by this. So if you're just trying to say it's not that big of a deal, you're either lying or you somehow figured out something that the rest of us don't know. So for the love of God, start a YouTube channel and share with us your knowledge. You'll probably get famous like overnight. All right, some other evidence: streamers and content creators that are publicly pulling out of the game mode. This is not help, right? Like, a lot of what makes a game live or die these days are things like content creators. Like, I'm rather small. I probably don't play a huge factor into that. But folks like Hush, Glad has been tweeting about, like, he's always been a PvE main guy, but used to do some stuff in Crucible, and now he's like with Stasis, I'm not touching it at all. Like, he's got, like, millions of people that he reaches out to. And he's not the only one. So, like, when you got all these folks that are like, yep, this is stupid, I'm not doing it, that's going to take away, because you're going to have the folks that are like, well, my gosh, if this really skilled player, at least in their own eyes, like, everyone can have argues, like, I personally have opinions about a certain cactus on the internet, so everyone has their own views, but if like, oh my gosh, this person is so good, and they're like, this is broken as hell, I'm not going to touch it, then that's just going to turn it into a lot of those viewers of that person just not playing the mode, because they're like, well, my boy Glad can't or doesn't want to deal with this, why should I? So, like, that's going to really have a lot of impact on the community, and it's great evidence for why PvP in the community is toxic as heck, and the mode is dying. Then the last main thing is we got really a huge lack of a player base and a lack of rewards. Like, they kind of go hand in hand, right? If you have great rewards, you're going to have a larger player base. Like when Revoker and all that stuff was the pinnacle, I feel like there was more people playing because more folks wanted those things. And so, like, you have, like, they go hand in hand, which is why I have them together. So when we don't have, like, we have like 0 Crucible pinnacles. Like, it's Adored. And Adored is laughably easy to do. I had a horrible time getting it done because I was really struggling that night. Stasis was brand new, and I still did it in like 2 hours. Like, I was so bad that night. I don't even think I got a 1 KDA that night, other than like once or twice over those 2 hours. And I still got that sniper rifle done. So, like, Adored does not count, right? Like, Mountaintop took a long time. Revoker was pretty lengthy for most people. Like, it took me a full weekend of dedicated playing to get it done. So just not having those rewards is will be impacted by having a smaller player base, and having a smaller player base is also usually indicative of not having that great of rewards. Now, when we're looking at things like comp and quick play, pretty much the same issues. It's just folks with like comp and quick play, things like rewards may not be as big of a deal, but if you got pinnacle reward rituals, stuff like that, it would be nifty to have in general for quick play as well as comp. Now, here's some just kind of more evidence to go on this list. This beautiful pile of garbage that is currently Crucible, and I guess right now in part the community is social media is a huge evidence of what is going on, and that the PvP is definitely not a main thing and is dying. So we got on Reddit. We'll have folks, myself included, will try and do things like post suggestions of things that can be done to either bring more players into a game mode like Trials, or to make the whole thing better as a whole. And then it'll just instantly just be tanked. And it'll have comment sections like, you're just trying to make more people get flawless, or you just don't want to have to work, or get good, son. Like, we're literally in a scenario on Reddit especially where we got Trials is dying, right? Trials is fighting the gladiators of of ancient Rome, and all the sweats and recubs that make the money are cheering on as the game mode gets absolutely slaughtered by a lack of player base and a lack of participation, cheering get good as their game mode is dying. I guarantee you, if nothing changes, Trials of Osiris will get deleted just like Trials of the Nine did, because eventually it's going to turn into a problem of Bungie not having enough reason to put time and money into it and just getting rid of it, and we'll get into that more later. We also see on LFGs, like Xbox is where I mostly play on, and so like if I go on an Xbox LFG, I will see two very polarizing types of posts, especially for Trials. It'll either be must have so many numbers of flawlesses with like a 2.0 KD inside of Trials, or you'll have the opposite of folks being like, we hate our lives, we're getting drunk to make this more bearable, we want the free win reward. If you're down to be chill, come hang out with us. Like, that's not very indicative of a player base when it's either absolute sweats that will like kick you out if you ever get below a certain KD, and then the other side of, well, and we can't just literally lay down our guns and give up when we load in, so I guess we'll just get absolutely wasted, and so that way it hurts a little bit less. Like, that's not very indicative of a positive playing experience, community, or game mode. Then we've got issues with things like hateful comments, taking suggestions down. We'll have folks that will try to, undermine everything that's said. Like even poor Hush. Whilst I do not agree that it's fair to expect the game to be a PvE and PvP focused thing, folks were hating on him pretty hard in his comment section about how it was ridiculous to expect there to be any kind of a balance with PvE and PvP. And that just doesn't really help either, because that just encourages content creators and just people who see those things in general to just be like, fuck it, I'm out. And it just nothing for building a community, which you will need to have Bungie care about putting time and money into this mode. Then lastly, for my evidence, we have PvP sweats are doing things like gatekeeping, and they're closing off from other players, keeping the population small, hyper-competitive, and toxic. Now here's what I mean by gatekeeping. I don't always just mean what happened with Season of the Worthy the third week, where folks are low-card farming for that Astral Horizon. While that is part of it, it's still happening. Like folks every now and then, like even streamers will be like, yeah, I just did a whole bunch of low card wins just because I was trying to get some certain weapon, or I just wanted tokens. But what I more mean is things about keeping others out. Within these posts that have stuff like must have a 2 KD. When you have things like KD, you shut others out. Now here, I also use myself as an example because I know myself and I kind of know more of my playstyle and my stats. This is not a cry for me to have people in my comment section being like, oh my god, he just wants people to carry in the flawless. No, even if you were to try and be like, hey, I'll take you to flawless, I probably wouldn't care because, whatever, screw Trials. But this is just kind of, this seems to make the most sense to use. Alright, so I am a much better support player. So what tends to happen is I have incredibly low kill ratios inside of especially modes like Trials. Like in Comp, it's a little bit different because I can play more how I want to, but in Trials, it tends to be very low. Most of my kills are going to be assists. So like my straight up KD is going to be low as heck, which the result is going to be not getting to be in teams that I could actually probably be of use to and to some degree be able to hang with. What's going to happen is I'm going to only be able to play with folks that are kind of more like me, tend to either be more support players or pretty casual. And so what's going to happen is my KD is going to tank. And so instead of me having a reflective KD of what I maybe could actually be used my potential to, it's going to be, oh look, that guy is absolutely horrible, which isn't necessarily incorrect. It's just not maybe as correct as, hey, I'm great at support, I do fantastic with cleaning up, team shooting, working together, using strategies, causing flanks, getting all the red on the radar, causing panics, stuff like that. Doesn't necessarily result in having high KDs. And I'm not the only one that's going to have issues with this. And so you're going to have lots of folks like in my clan. There's plenty of folks in my clan that actually are really quite good at PvP. But because they can't get in with groups that are going to actually get wins, they end up being in these scenarios where I call 1v3s. So they're going to load in with friends where they're like, well, they both suck, but whatever, we're friends, we're just going to have a good time because they want to play with their friends. And so they're going to be loading in on 1v3s, which is going to tank their KD all like to hell. Like, it's really hard to consistently have over a 1 KD if you're always basically in a 1v3. And that's going to then prevent them from having hard times getting in with the groups that insist upon having certain KD levels. So that's more what I mean by the gatekeeping. Now, when we talk about about the population, keeping the population small, that's also what ends up happening, because if people can't get in with teams that can't at least get wins enough times to make it worth their time, then folks just aren't going to play. And so we're actually right now having a very interesting deal, which is exactly what happened with Trials of the Nine. So the first time Trials of Osiris came out, back in like March or February 2020, you had pretty much everyone was playing. So like the folks that entered quick play that are bad were the bad ones in Trials. Then after a couple of weeks, the bad ones stopped playing Trials, and then you had the below average ones were now the new bad. Then after more weeks, they stopped playing, and so then the average ones are now the new bad. Then after a couple more weeks, they stopped playing, and so then the above average ones are now the new bad players. And now we're at the point where we're all the way up with so many people stop playing, where it's like the top like 5% is who mostly plays Trials right now. Like if you are not like well above average, it's going to be brutal inside of Trials for the most part, of course, unless you're a cheating little bastard. So like that's resulting in the community being small and hyper competitive, and those folks, unfortunately, from the outside looking in, seem to be the more toxic folks. Not always. There's one guy, he's a fan of my channel. His part of his name is America. He is a really good Crucible player, and it definitely is really fun to play with and is accepting with lots of people. So I'm not trying to say everyone in this percentage is like this, but it's kind of a stereotype that goes with it, and so the result is just this cycle of people hating on each other. And this whole thing is stupid, and we see it on social media, LFG posts, and just pretty much everywhere. So that's kind of my evidence for what's going on with Trials. Now, here are I guess not Trials, the Destiny community. Now, here's some solutions, right? Because we went all over the stuff of why things are going bad, so we gotta talk about maybe how to try and make things go a little bit better. We have to make it where it's worth Bungie's time and money. Now, here's some evidence as to how we know this is a factor. For raids, at one point, Bungie had figured out about 10% of the community did raids, and of that 10%, 3% did hard modes. I have no idea what qualified you to fall into these percentages. It's just what they had found out. And so they ended up deciding, hey, 3% is not worth our time and money to do hard modes. We should better invest that into other content, which that's bizarre considering how poor I view Beyond Light to have been. But anyways, so we're going to see the exact same thing happen with Trials. It already happened with Trials of the Nine. They hit a point where so few people were playing it that Bungie tried some stuff, like with weapon loots and whatnot. It didn't work. Didn't boost the community, and they weren't seeing enough time and money to be worth their while, and they got rid of it. And now it's even worse, because at the time, Trials of the Nine, you at least had to buy the game to be able to play Trials of the Nine, because Destiny just had to buy it. Now, it's completely free to play, and you can do Trials without paying for the money. So what's going to probably end up happening, because we're on the same mode, is the exact same thing. Bungie's going to be looking, all right, cool. How many people are playing? Here's the number of percentage, whatever. Now, of that percentage, how many people are free to play? And like, oh my gosh, it's some unfair balance. It's not worth it. And they're like, well, did we try weapons? Absolutely, we tried weapons. Didn't seem to bolster anybody. Like, well, fuck it, we're done. Like, we'll try again in a couple of years. So if you guys want to have this mode, stick around. I urge you guys to try and take these things to heart. Now, the evidence, you can do things and figure out on your own, like just play with more people, whatever. But here's some ideas I have for solutions. Number one is the loot. We gotta have loot to bring more players to the game. If you don't have loot in a looter shooter that's not worth it, people won't play it. I personally won't be that surprised if the Grandmaster Adept weapons are not out of this world useful. Why would folks try to do Grandmaster? So that was the exact same problem that's happening with these Flawless Adept weapons, is they are at best just as good, maybe slightly better than other weapons. Like my Summoner I have might be, for most people, just as good and maybe even better than their Adept Summoner. So like it doesn't, like it's not enticing enough. That's the word, enticing enough. So we gotta have loot to make it worthwhile to bring in more players and to keep the ones that are currently playing in. Part of why I don't play is because I already got my Flawless title, and as a result, I had 3 full armor sets, 1 for Hunter, Titan, Warlock. I had all the weapons. I, for the most part, had rolls I was the least satisfied with, and I was like, whatever. It just ain't worth my time. I'll wait to see if Adept weapons are worth it. They're not, so like, whatever. I don't care. It's not worth my time to go through all that pain and frustration, especially now. It's way harder to do what I did back when everyone was playing the game. So we gotta have loot. Then the other thing we gotta do is have people stop just giving unuseful comments on the internet. Just tweeting out to the void at Bungie, at DMG, at Cosmo, at Destiny of the game. Stasis is broken as hell and it needs to go away. It's not going to do anything, right? Like, if you're someone who's a PvP main, I wouldn't be too surprised if in the first couple minutes of this video, someone's shields went up, zoop, up, but like, this guy's attacking me, I'm done. So what do you think Bungie's going to do if they've got something like Stasis they've been working on for, I'm not even sure how long, it could be over a year, and then just to have folks be like, this is stupid, take it out of the game, brr, 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 brr. Might be like, fine, fuck you, and not even care to listen because their shield goes up. So we gotta make sure we're being constructive and respectful when we're trying to present these different solutions and opinions. So we gotta figure out how to be able to balance Stasis inside of PvP, which is kind of another thing. Bungie needs to figure out how to be able to balance things in PvP and PvE separately. Like, I'm not sure why it's such a thing where like you have to like adjust the weapon, but it affects both realms of the game. Like, I'm not sure why it can't be separate. I don't know. I'm not a game dev, but that's something else that should be done as well, is how you can adjust the weapon or stat, whatever, in one mode, like PvP, and not have it affect the others, so that way you can actually fine-tune these things. Then we gotta have things where, like, play with a team in comp versus looking at stats is way less toxic. Maybe just hop in with some folks. Like, worst case scenario, you lose, you don't have a lot of fun, you guys part ways, and that's it. As opposed to like this whole like KD thing. Like, I used to run with folks that were like, yep, if anyone ever got below a certain KD or a KDA, you got the boot. And that ended up being no fun. Like, I almost refuse to play with anyone now that requires a certain KD. Especially in Crucible, because one, I usually can't meet those KDs, but also it's just not that very fun and not very inclusive. Sometimes the most fun people to play with are the ones that are good, but are like, Destiny is life, must stomp noobs to the curb. So try playing with a team. You know, just get with a team, get some friends, play together, and also expand that horizon. Back with the gatekeeping thing, I kind of forgot to mention a really common practice people have is look at a team and they'll only ever play trials with those 2 people. Like, they won't play with anyone else because they're like, you know what, these guys are good, we get wins, we're set, that's only who I will play with. And then the result is then you cut out all those other people. So like, something you could do for this would be play with those folks, get that flawless or get that win streak, whatever it is you're trying to do, and then expand and just try hanging out with some other folks just to, you know, see what happens. Because at the worst case scenario, you don't have a lot of fun, but maybe you gave someone an experience they wouldn't have had otherwise, which might encourage them to play the mode more often, which in turn will show Bungie more people are playing. And then the last thing I would suggest for a solution would be to join a clan. It's so much more fun when you can play with folks that you know, or at least can talk with more than just like on an LFG group. It's way more nifty. So if you are looking for a clan, I can happen to offer you a clan that has room for Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. Granted, PlayStation's a little low right now, but hey, everyone starts somewhere. So the links for that stuff for the Discord are down below. And so make sure you guys join with that. Alright, the last thing I want to leave off is whenever you guys are giving comments, trying to get stuff changed, is you gotta be nice. We've already had DMG in the past be like, yeah, if you guys are going to be assholes about how you're telling us to change stuff, we don't care, we're not going to listen. So like, we already kind of know they're not listening unless you're trying to be respectful and constructive. And so we gotta really stress that that is very much needed inside of trying to make these changes to the community. I don't want PvP to die. I don't want PvP to go away forever. Right now, I wouldn't give a rat's ass. The trials went away and never came back. And I would not be surprised if a large portion of the community felt the exact same way. but we are where we are, and if we want to keep things to get better, we have absolutely got to try and make it worth more of Bungie's time. And doing things like having scrims where half of Bungie's game isn't allowed does not inspire faith from Bungie to want to put in time and money when they already know their main player base hates half their game anyways. It'd be like, I don't know, if you know your dog hates spinach, why would you give them spinach? So like, if Bungie knows you hate their game, why would they put focus into their game for you? So like, we gotta keep that mentality in mind. Alright y'all, I know this was a long video. I really appreciate you all for watching. This is just something that's kind of been like in my head for quite a while, and seeing all these tweets kind of brought up all these thoughts, and I was like, you know what, I want to get these out and put these out there for all of you guys. So I really hope this is not only something you guys agree with, but is expressing opinions of the common Destiny player, and getting our voices out there and heard, not just shut down on Reddit, or hearing the top 1% of the PvP player base from the main content creators on YouTube. Let me know down below what you guys think, and if you made it this far, I would love for you guys to put the word strawberry somewhere in your comment, either at the beginning or at the end, and that'll just really tickle me. I don't know why, but strawberry, I just think of the Family Guy with the strawberry, and it makes me laugh. I don't know, just where I'm at right now as I'm recording this video. I am Church of Caboose. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Have a great week, and happy grinding, y'all.